Shirley here with Sirius Dallas Moon. Now, this is about Saturn Neptune. Saturn Neptune. Now, you're saying Shirley Saturn is 12 degrees Aries, Neptune is 4 degrees Aries. What do you want with the Saturn Neptune? We heard about it for 3 effing years. And you're still rambling on. Yeah, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Now, the reason being is because I see it in effect. Saturn's gonna go retrograde and it's gonna meet Neptune 1 degree Aries. I believe Saturn is going all the way to the 14th degree before it goes into retrograde. This was a funny joke. My kittens made so much shit in the bathroom. And the people that watch everybody, it's kind of like it's a surveillance state, but they had a joke about, because I was thinking, maybe I'll clean bathrooms. I can sit and I come back home and I say, okay, I'll clean my feet. So much shit. The entire. And then I was thinking about, well, I knew a couple, they had a dog. And it said before they get more than anything, they'll adopt a pet. A lot of couples do that. Then they separated. They had shared custody over the dog. And I was thinking also about people usually think about, well, I don't know if we can have a baby, or I don't know if I can have a baby. Let's try to take care of the pets first. By the time they do, it's like, we need a vacay. We need a vacay. um, so I don't know how it works, but like, um, and if they separate, it's like custody, shared custody over over the animals. So, and I was thinking about how our generation is called. I'm talking about millennials, sometimes Gen Zers. Gen Zers made a girl boss out of uh, appearing to be tradwife content creation. It's things I see on YouTube, and the our generation is called baby doomers because we became really aware. If our parents' generation became really aware of how the people get married without love or stay together without love, and how that's bad for the kids, our generation began to think about the kids. And we began to have so many tests before because we became acutely aware of how lethal it can be. And this is where the things that were rising to the surface when people don't marry or don't have kids. If they buy a ring, they buy it to themselves so not to be disturbed. Um, and this is where the tension began to rise to the surface because now real estate could no longer be, oh, houses for families. human rights, honoring the person, whether they're able to work or not able to work, became an actual issue. And way more people were boggled by the people that think that person they either wedding material or an option, and if they are an option, they are being trafficked, and if they are wedding material, they're also being trafficked, but within marriage. And then people get to their own babyhood, to the harm towards the helpless. Now, Saturn-Neptune co-presence brings with it all the Saturn-Neptune people, synastries, composites. And it can juxtapose people to dissolve something. For example, if I think about dropping the petering, dropping the breeding farms, dropping human trafficking. When we think about the boom of divorces, when people could divorce, and then the attempt to bring back, but people won't be able to this, won't be able to that, won't be able to that. It's like, well, in Iceland, they hunted the warlocks. People become less tolerant of controlling dynamics. Because Saturn and Neptune are meeting at the sign of sovereignty, the synastries, and each people are going to see it in their own life with various compositions. For example, people have Saturn in Scorpio, they're going to see it with the boomers that have Neptune in Scorpio. And both of them are probably going to feel equally helpless and revert to their coping mechanisms. And this is where the coping mechanisms that are of control nature need to dissolve in both. People cannot just let go, or how should I say that? They cannot let go and surrender to a person is not a safe structure to them. Now, many things happen regarding those things, the Saturn, the Capricorns, where people had to surrender when they were climbing up the ladder, or surrendering the fact that they're climbing up the ladder for some of them. This could be an inheritance to do with, or the patriarchal line, the patrilineal. I just saw a video that talk about a lady that was reading the karmas of people, and I think she was Indian, And she says, what was the issues with the father will show up in their child's life. As a person that spent most of her life with her single mom, it's very, I wonder, um, but I've also seen that with people, let's say, becoming fathers. And I remember when I was standing to, before the Epstein list dropped, the targeting of the infants and so on and so forth. I became acutely aware that those things, or when people talked about, let's say, orgasmic birthing, or when I talked about orgasmic birthing, it sparked up some stuff, and it was like, whoop, the petering drops, which is also a cloning farm and a breeding farm. It's to do with wealth consolidation. And then the astrology goes through a complete, and I'm like, oh, well, I know that from the medicines. That was standard oil back then. And that can feel like almost chronic helplessness to do with those patrilineal issues. Basically, it calls to curate our um, bone structure for any patterns of harming the helpless, hidden harms since infanthood.